Introduce my panel to you, and by the way, your questions are welcome at KTN News at Yvonne Okwara. Remember to use the hashtag Kivumbi2017. That's how I'll be looking out for your feedback. You can also send us a text message. The number is 22155. We're discussing the state of post-election in this country, the security, and of course how we start to move forward from where we are right now. Here is my panel tonight. On my extreme right, we have George Morara, who's the Vice Chair of the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. Asante sana.
Thank you for
right next to him, we have Maurice Amolo, who's the Deputy Country Director for Mercy Corps. He is also the Chief of Party of the Election Violence Prevention and Response Program, has been doing this for 15 years, I believe, if not more. And right next to him, from the Interreligious Faith Forum, we've got Bishop Dr. Wariara Wakabu John. I hope I got that right.
Warari.
Warari, yes, there we go. And right next to me here, we have Charles Owino, who's from the Kenya Police Service. Gentlemen, I thank you for your time this evening. I think the most natural place to begin would be with you, Charles. The statement that came from Bwana Kinoti, who's the Assistant Inspector General, called the report by the Kenya National Human Rights Commission unfounded, no basis in fact, and clearly aimed at escalating tensions in the country. Are you saying that none of the deaths that they have reported and the manner in which the police have conducted themselves is completely false?
Well, first of all, I don't know where the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights have reported the deaths. I know that they have reported them to police or to our oversight, Civilian Oversight Authority, IPOA. The only thing that I know is that I watched you on TV with the chair talking about 24 deaths across the country since the declaration of the presidential results, which according to our records is not true, in the sense that so far I think I can account for 9 persons, in which one person I've not properly confirmed, but I'm told there was one person who had been injured, I think a day ago in Kawangware, and he succumbed to his injuries. But apart from that, we had 2 people on 11th who were fatally shot after they had broken into Kasabuni supermarket on the night when the presidential election results were declared. On 12th, around 4 in the morning, also 25 people broke into people's houses with pangas, and 1 person was fatally shot dead. And in Babadogo, a gang of 6 broke into a hardware the same day. 2 people were fatally shot dead. And in Kisumu, on the same date, on 12th, 200 men blocked Dago Kiboswa Road. 1 person was fatally shot dead. That comes to a total of 6. Then there was an unfortunate death of the 9-year-old in Madare, who was shot, I'm told, in the balcony.
Yeah. We
had a confrontation between us and a large number of people, some criminals who were also armed. And then in Kariobangi, we had a person who was found next to the road with fresh stabbed wounds. So the number of persons that I had as at yesterday were 8, and today 1 person succumbed to injuries that he got yesterday and died. That could be 9. But what I can say is that we have absolutely no reason to hide any person who has been fatally shot in the course of this, and Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is quite aware on the procedure that when any person loses his life, sudden death, no matter the circumstance, whether police is involved or any other person, then definitely we have to have an inquiry into the cause of that death.
All right, I'd like
and
to
also
hear
luckily
from the Commission
let me just
on their
finish.
numbers. Okay.
Just give me a minute, because I think the spot is on me. And also, luckily, we have, after the promulgation of the Constitution 2010, we have an oversight authority that they can work very closely with and with us to ensure that we are able to come into conclusion on this. But what I would want to say...
Okay, please, because I'd like him to respond. We will come back. We have quite a bit of time this evening. George, let me hear from you. He's disputing the numbers, saying he doesn't know where you got the 24 from. He's given an account of 9. What's your response?
Well, Yvonne, I think as a commission, not only a commission, but a constitutional commission mandated by law to do human rights investigations in this country, to document violations that have happened, and to actually report on all aspects of the observance of human rights in the Republic. We were actually acting within our mandate, and these figures have been properly collected by our commission. Through our monitors, we had 264 monitors that we deployed to various parts of the country. We also work very closely, including what Bwana Charles Owen is talking about, with our partners, IPOA. We also work with the Red Cross and all these other people. So these figures are figures that we've been able to authenticate. Let me hasten to add that we got figures that were higher than this, but because those figures were not verifiable, because we're also a responsible state agency, we just can't put out the numbers there. These numbers that we put out there, 17 from Kisumu, 2 from Homa Bay, 1 from Kisumu, 2 from Migori, and 2 from Siaya, making 24, are numbers that the Commission is absolutely sure about, and we've verified them. So that is the basis of our
All right.
information.
I'd like you to respond to that statement that your report is aimed at escalating tensions in the country. You've also talked about the excessive use of force, you know, not just the deaths, but the manner in which, you know, the deaths occurred. So could you speak to us about that?
I don't think our intention when we go out there, like I said clearly, is to escalate tension or any form of what the police spokesperson, Bwana Kinoti, was saying. We went out there, and this report is based on the basis, is actually out of the violations that we're able to document. So when you talk about the 24 people that have been killed, let's be very clear that that's a violation that the Commission is duty-bound to report on. Let me also be quick to add that we were equally forthcoming in telling Kenyans that their rights come with responsibilities. So again, the Kenyans who went out there to demonstrate, the ones we reported cases where an Equity Bank was attacked. We also reported cases of looting and all that. What I'd have expected to see is a lot of people in handcuffs being taken to the cells, and none in gunny bags, unless the ones who ended up in gunny bags acted in a manner that was clearly justifiable for the police to use excessive force. What we're saying is that when the young, mostly young men in these poor informal settlements were confronting the police, and most of them did actually confront the police with rocks and sticks and all that, it was sufficient for the police to use water cannon and tear gas canisters. I'd want Bwana Owino to tell us how many they have arrested, because, like I said, we wanted to see a lot of these people in handcuffs and not in gunny bags.
All right. I will come to you, Bwana Owino, but I'd like to bring the others into the conversation. Maurice, you work with the communities at that level. What's been your assessment of, you know, the situation thus far? Bwana Owino saying, you know, those who were shot dead were in the midst of committing a crime. Bwana Morare says excessive force. You've been dealing with the members of these communities. What is your take on that? And do you think they've been adequately perhaps engaged and involved in terms of keeping the peace at this time?
Yeah, thanks, Yvonne. I think the first thing we have to realize is that we are dealing with a very unique conflict. This is not the normal crime or the normal, or we're not dealing with terror groups or something. You are dealing with groups that are in dispute over an election. That means that there are multiple truths about what is happening. There is no one truth. Everybody have their own truths, and everybody has taken a particular position. So I think for me, and to just go back to the talk about escalating the situation or not, I would just like to point out that when such things are happening, and the only thing you hear is denial, it actually escalates the situation too. You need to be able to tell the people what is happening on the ground, and more importantly, to show the public that some action is being taken about, you know, with regard to their grievances. If you keep saying denying that this is not happening, but on the ground things are different, that doesn't help the situation. But just to go back, I think there is a lot of effort by different peace builders in this country, conflict transformationists, who are trying their level best to ensure that, you know, these things are de-escalated. They are talking to both parties. They are talking to police officers. They are talking to youths who are on the road, particularly the leadership, to try and actually work and operate within the precincts of the law. But more importantly, just to remind, I think, our friends who are, I want to look at them as conflict managers, the police in this particular situation, that you are dealing with mobs. And when you deal with a mob, you know, a mob has heads enough, but no brain. You need to come up with different approaches of dealing with it. And bullets are not really the solution.
Bishop, also in your statement yesterday, you also condemned the use of excessive force, but tell us where we should be right now with the communities that are trying to heal from this post-election situation. And, you know, what your thoughts are, because at least we have the spokesperson here. What would you say to him? You preach to these communities every Sunday, possibly every day. What's your take on the situation, you know, from your standpoint?
Yvonne, this is a very hard moment for Kenya. And I would like the audience and the Republic to just pause and say a prayer to the families of the bereaved and those who are admitted in hospitals. I don't believe that we envisioned that we would be in such a situation. And so from the religious leaders, we want to say a prayer to the hurting and to the families that are right now in deep sorrow because they have lost their loved ones. Having said that, indeed, elections come and go. And we are going to have many more elections. But should we always be having moments of sorrow and pain because of elections? We, the religious leaders, we've been praying and urging people to keep peace. And we've been accused that we overemphasized the fact that we need to keep peace. But I think we do need peace.
All right, Bishop, allow me to ask,
yes.
because you have had some press conferences and some, you know, rather strong statements.
Yes.
Have you been out to Mathare, to Kibera, to Kisumu? Have you spoken with IEBC officials, with Raila Odinga, with President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta, with the police? Because some would say it's one thing to issue a strong statement, but in terms of action, deeds, what would you say the clergy has done to quell this
We started this journey long ago, Yvonne, and we have issued a total of 10 statements. It is true we have met with the police IG. We met before the elections. We met with Mr. Kibisho. We've met with the IEBC officials. We've met with the leaders of the opposition. We've met with the government. And our message has been, please keep peace.
And have you been to Kibera and to Mathare to see the people that are mourning that we were showing in our stories a little earlier?
We are there because we are spread right to the grassroots. Our churches and congregations and mosques and temples are right within the villages. So people are hurting. People are afraid. And I don't believe this is the way we should go. We, like the golden rule, Jesus Christ said, do unto others what you'd want them to do unto you.
Are you happy with how the police have handled themselves?
I think the police, they're having a very hard time. And for once, we should congratulate the police because during the election day, we did not have any incidences. They were spread all over the 47 counties, and they made sure we had a very peaceful election. But then again, after the results were announced, we started seeing reaction. And I would like to say, our leaders must be in the front to tell our people how they should react for those who won and for those who lost. Because a leader, where there are two people, there must be a leader. So we, in the leadership, should urge our people to, if they are celebrating, they should do it moderately. If they are mourning and they are reacting in that they lost, they should do it moderately.
All right, Bishop, but then I think no doubt that the voting day was free from drama and things were peaceful. But I think a lot of the questions have come up in how we have handled ourselves post-election.
Correct.
So the police spokesman is sitting here right next to you.
Yeah, he is.
Yesterday, the statement that was issued was rather stinging and talking about the excessive use of force. So here is now this opportunity to perhaps say something to the police.
And I'm going
directly.
to say it. I'm going to say it to the police that we are all Kenyans. And we should look for ways that are temperate to cool the temperatures. And if need be, if there are people out there who must be arrested, because that is their work, they should do it. But like we stated yesterday, it's unfortunate because we have seen a lot of force being remitted to the citizens. Can they moderate it? This is our request, because what has happened, but we are urging our police officers who are offering services to the community. And one thing is, allow me to say again, they are doing a commendable job. But when they use excessive force, then we, from the clergy, from the pulpit, we would say, kindly moderate it. One Kenyan dying is one too many.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bona Spokesman, I'd like you to respond to what George Morara had to say with respect to those that were killed, saying by the time we're getting into shooting people, and you mentioned a number of those that were shot dead were looting a nearby shop, but saying there were options in terms of arresting them, and that by the time we start shooting people dead, that should be the last option. Also, quite a stark statement that's coming out today, starkly different, because yesterday the acting Cabinet Secretary for Interior categorically denied the use of live bullets. So at what point? It becomes a little confusing for the Kenyan to understand. Yesterday, no live bullets were used. Today, now we're hearing about 9 people and that they were in the midst of committing a crime.
First of all, I would want you to give me enough time because the police are on the spot so that we can be able to explain the situation. It is important to understand that it is not the duty of the police to kill any Kenyan. It is the responsibility and the duty of the police to protect lives and properties of all Kenyans. And that's basically what we do. We respect the fact that the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is a constitutional office, and they earn their salary from government. They are not earning their salaries from NGOs. And we work together as a team. What is most important is national cohesion in this country. It is not a time for game blames, because Mr. Morara is aware that a number of times they have rushed and even lied to Kenyans. I remember there was a time they were really on our neck, and we had even to take excavators and bulldozers to Wajir to excavate people that they said we had buried in shallow graves, but we still had to go deep. So I would want to ask the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights that you don't need to rush into conclusions and condemnations of police, because first of all, I don't know whether the commission has been in touch with the police headquarters and more so the IG on the information that you have, because you are saying you have 24 people who were killed across the country, and we are saying so far we only had 9. I think it would be prudent that if you have any information contrary to what we have, then it would have been reasonable that you share it with us before you condemn us. Because number one, it's true that when you are dealing with crowds at night and during certain hours, it's possible that a person may be shot, and the police may not know, especially if they have not been involved in carrying the body to the mortuary. Equally, you may go to a mortuary and find a person with a gunshot wound, and if you contact us, we may tell you the incident. It could be something which took place last week, somebody was a robber or whatever it is. Kenyans are all aware that we have worked under very difficult conditions, especially trying to manage issues of criminals and terrorists in this country. And I think every Kenyan agrees that we have tried our level best. What I would like to say is that if you look at the incidents that have taken place across the country, I've not heard of anybody shot in Mombasa. I've not heard of anybody shot in Makueni. I've not heard of anybody shot in Wajir. I've not heard of anybody shot.
Yeah, but I think that's not in dispute, Bwana Owino. I think the areas have been discussed.
Excuse me, Yvonne. We are looking at the whole country and we are looking at the scenario. It's not just good to come and condemn police for having shot a criminal who is not involved in demonstration, a person breaking somebody's shop.
Isn't one person too many?
Excuse me.
And is it the process of police to shoot criminals?
What is there?
How about arresting
What is
them?
there? It is not for this forum. Let me tell you, there are institutions in this country, including their institution. There is the Oversight Authority. I have told you that any person who dies suddenly, even if you collapse here and die now, or I collapse here and die now, an inquiry into the cause of your death must be undertaken. And that is the time that we'll be able to say this was justifiable or this was not justifiable. You are seeing the country burn. I don't know whether you want us to leave people, to burn properties, to destroy the country, and then tomorrow you blame us for inaction.
I'd like us to have a conversation.
What I would like to say, just a minute.
We have three other panelists. I know you want some time, but we're here up until 11 if you like. I'd like the others to jump in.
You are not being fair to me.
How so, Bwana Owino?
I'll keep quiet.
No.
Let's have
finish
others,
his piece.
please.
No,
we have a lot of time. You want to finish? Okay,
now,
carry
if
on.
we have a lot of time, why are you cutting me?
Yeah.
Because there's three other panelists, but carry on.
Is not
carry on, Mr. Owino.
The person that is on the spot is the police.
Carry on, Mr.
No
Owino.
Kenyan is talking about incitement by politicians.
Your
duty is to wait for people to do wrong things. And that's why I was giving an example of the whole nation. I'm not seeing you, Mombasa. I'm not hearing us. We have shot somebody in Kakamega. We are not mad.
Let me now, no. Let me just respond to what Bwana Owino is saying. Bwana Owino,
all right, and then we'll come to you, Bwana Morris.
Yes, you really like using this example of Mandela, and
because it is factual.
Yes, it's very factual.
Yeah.
And for me, the reason why this is important and why it shouldn't actually be something to be taken against us, the fact that we got this information from sources that we hadn't verified, and we chose to go there to verify, should tell you the kind, our modus operandi. Because we got this information, yes. Did we run to town with it? No. Do Kenyans have the right to give us all this information? They
have
do.
You shared it with
we have
us?
a duty. No, I'm talking about the case you keep on referring to about Mandela.
You are a constitutional institution. You work together with us.
Let me
have
just finish.
You shared that information with us before releasing it so that we can also be able to confirm and have accurate figures?
Okay.
Or your duty is to incite Kenyans?
No. Our duty is not to incite Kenyans. And for me, actually, I won't let it pass that you're saying that we went to Mandela and we didn't find anything. The fact that we went there should actually guarantee you or show you that we are interested.
No, you had accused us
we are
that
interested
we are
in finding
in shallow graves.
But anyway, that is
the same way you are now behaving here.
That is neither here nor there. What I want to say is this. The information that we have currently, because we are also a constitutional body, we are a creature of the Constitution, and we have modalities and procedures about of working. So indeed, is it correct for us to bring these figures to the fore? Absolutely, because it's within our mandate to do that. We investigate, we document, we report. Then, beyond that, we don't have powers of prosecution. We actually don't have...
No, but do you think it is fair to share such critical information affecting the nation? We have a dispute in an election.
We share this information because the IG came out and said no Kenyan had died. The IG said no Kenyan had died.
No.
Actually,
I was on Citizen yesterday.
Not the IG, but the acting.
I gave same numbers yesterday.
All right, let's have a conversation. You can finish with your point.
Let me just finalize my point. Let me finish my point. What I'm trying to say is this, Bwana Owino. The 24 numbers, there's a protocol and process in which we're going to handle them, and you know that.
Then why are you releasing them if there's protocol?
We have the numbers, and
why are you releasing
those
them?
numbers.
For what purpose?
Because there was a denial from the government.
There was no denial.
There was actually. Yvonne has said that the acting.
I was on TV.
The acting.
I was on TV
that is
yesterday.
different. That's different from what the acting.
At what time did the minister talk? The CS talked at what time? In the morning.
Yes.
I talked at what time?
Mr. Wino?
As at the time the CS talked,
we
he
have
didn't
a
have
duty
information.
no. We have a duty and responsibility to actually inform Kenyans, and we're not going to shy away from that duty. So what we did is we have this information, and using the relevant channels and protocols where it will be processed further, we will do that, and we say it as much in our statement. We'll share this information with IPOA, and we're going to share it with the ODPP. We'll also bring it to your attention. But why are you accusing
the CS?
Okay, all right.
Because the CS said nobody had died.
All right, gentlemen, let's have Maurice come in on this one.
I just wanted to point out one thing, that perhaps as Kenyans, we need to learn to listen a little more. We cannot be imagining what somebody is going to say before they even say it. And this is a problem that we have across the country. But that said, these are two constitutional institutions in this country. And as Kenyans, we decided that we'll have the National Human Rights Commission, and we have a police service. And part of this, I think, is because there are certain things that can happen that even as a police officer you may not know, and it is only fair when they are brought to your attention. You might be dressing very, very clean and smart, but there is a stain on your back. You want to be able to see that. I think it behoves you to be modest enough to say, okay, I'm listening to this. This has happened. How do we handle it going forward as a country? Taking a defensive position does not help, especially in these circumstances.
All right,
we need to listen to one another.
Okay.
And we cannot just keep denying and pushing back that it didn't happen.
I want to hear your experiences about the communities that you work with, Maurice, because, we talked about that before you came on air. Just for the benefit of our viewers, you've talked extensively and worked with these communities in terms of how they're able to organize themselves, keep the peace, and even work with the police service. Could you give us some anecdotes about how this has worked, and in this particular situation, and how it can continue to be enhanced?
Thank you so much. I think, Yvonne, one thing we need to realize that while all these things have been happening, there have been some great efforts by Kenyans out there, including members of the police service, to be honest, who have really worked together. This preparation started some times back. We've had peace committees, we have integrated electoral and security committees that have brought different sectors together, from the civil society, police service, elders, peace committee members together to be able to look at the circumstances under which violence could break in some of these communities. And they drew all sorts of scenarios and possibilities. And since these things started after the announcement of the results, there have been a lot of effort to make sure that everybody acts within the confines of the law. We've had members of peace committees who have gone ahead and spoken to the police, the commanders on the ground, that we've received a report. We've seen, we have evidence that some of your officers are using excessive force. Those police officers have gone ahead and talked to their men and boys and told them, look, these are the reports we are receiving. Please do not use live bullets and the like. So we know that that is happening. We also have members of peace committees and these integrated electoral security people, including private sector members, who have gone ahead and talked to youth, isolated the youth leaders, and told them that whatever you are doing, you cannot destroy property, you cannot allow yourself to hurt each other. And let's face it, if you compare what is happening with 207, we've not had any cases where a Kenyan is turning against a Kenyan. And part of it is part of the effort by these particular people. We've heard from the police that there were cases where people wanted to, rob and wherever. Under these circumstances, those situations are normally there. And that is where we need the police to step in and, deal with it. And that has been dealt with, as long as it's not use of excessive force. But if those efforts were not in place, I have a feeling that things would have gotten out of hand currently. So we need to talk more. There are efforts there on the grassroots about individuals who are trying to make sure that things don't get out of hand. And that effort needs to be connected with the national level, efforts that are happening. I'm afraid that currently there is a disconnect between what is happening at the community level and the responses and the talk we are getting at the national level. So there is some breakdown in communication somewhere that bridge needs actually to be failed so that actually we can deal with this particular scenario effectively. That said, there are Kenyans right now that are hurting. We are a divided house. We cannot deny that. Whatever we say, we need to actively begin thinking about that and look at the best alternatives to dealing with the disputes that we have. Violence will not help, whether it is coming from the police or from the public. you never, never achieve anything by violence.
Okay. All right. We have a minute because I want us to take a small commercial break and then we will come back and continue with this conversation. Bishop, what Maurice is saying, do you think there's any truth to that? Because like you say, every election we're hurting. But it seems like every election, you know, all of these tensions and other emotions, you know, come to the fore. So how do we start to actually solve those issues? Because it seems like in this country there are deeper issues, and an election is just a catalyst for all of these emotions pent up to come to the fore. What are the underlying issues, and how can we start to solve them?
Kenya has come a long way, and we are maturing and maturing very fast. Unfortunately, what we've been experiencing is very ugly. And we look forward to a better tomorrow. And the question is, what should we do to get out of this cycle that every 5 years we go down in division, we go down, we are polarized as a country? I believe the answer lies in dialogue. And I'm very, very grateful, Yvonne, whether we are shouting at each other or interrupting each other. I think I like it because what we are doing, we are dialoguing. We are talking. And the Bible says, come, let us reason together. We need, possibly there are some things that ought to be changed. This idea of the winner takes it all. This idea that when one has lost, is kind of, he cannot give his or her services to the public. I don't think that is right. I want to believe there is pain in losing. And we should ask ourselves, how are we going to reach out to those people who lost? Kenya is traumatized. We need healing. We need therapy. I want to believe also, there is a book that was written by T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he asks, can you stand to be blessed? There are people, when they win, they go overboard because they don't know how to handle their success. And so I think we are a young democracy, 50 years old. We are having teething problems. We are told we should behave by the international community who have been free for over 300 years. And I would like to tell them that we are having our teething problem. We are learning how to walk. They should give us space.
Okay.
Because 2017 is not like what we saw in the year 2007 or 2013.
All right. But it's certainly hoped that our teething problems don't always result in loss of life, even 1,700
yeah.
or the 1,000 plus that died in 2007.
Correct.
But we will continue with this conversation in just a short while. Your messages are coming in on Twitter. Patrick Ochiba says, ask for Winner to comment on the police and the 6-month-old baby in Nyalenda. We will ask him that. And a lot of your other messages that are coming in. All right. I will get to them. Please keep them respectful, tafadhali. I mean, I know, like Bishop said, we're hurting, but I am trying to get through a lot of them. But clearly the messages on social media say, you know, there's a lot. There's a lot. But we will get to it, and we will make sure that all your questions, as many of them as we possibly can, are answered. So please do stay with us. We have George Marara, Maurice Amolo, Bishop Wakabu. We also have Charles Owino from the Kenya Police Service. This conversation is not over. We just want to take a short break, but we will return in just a moment.